Hey, I'm Ron Drotos from keyboardimprov.com, and welcome to our journey through the real book number 213, Chick Corea's tune Litha. Going through the real book one tune by one tune. This is the 213th tune in the book. It is on page 248, and occasionally someone will ask, why are you saying it's 213 when it's 248? It's because some of the tunes like this have 2 pages. So there's 400 tunes in the book. When I started this whole series over 4 years ago, I took a pencil and numbered each one. So this is the 213th tune. I'm giving myself an 8-year project, 400 tunes, one a week, about 8 years. And then who knows, maybe I'll go on to volume 2 and we'll do it all over again. But basically, thanks for joining me here. This whole series of online piano lessons is designed to whatever the standard tune is, whether it's Chick Corea or Duke Ellington, and you never know what you're going to get on the next page. Ron Carter, a tune with Miles Davis, Little Waltz, and then an old Jerome Kern tune, Long Ago and Far Away. So it's this sort of just hitting these spots in jazz history and seeing how they all relate to one another. That's really what interests me, and I'm trying to pass along a lot of what I got. You know, I started playing jazz piano around 1979, 1980, and a lot of the real greats were still alive. And one of my best friends' father was Sal Salvador, the great jazz guitarist who played with Stan Kenton, and then I got to study with Billy Taylor, and I didn't realize it at the time, but it really was sort of near the end of that era, right? You know, where we don't have access to those people anymore, right? There's new people, right? But basically those people like Billy Taylor, another teacher of mine, Hale Smith, they had started playing piano in the 30s. So I was very lucky in that I got a pre-bebop look into how music was, and they told me things, and in their playing, even predated bebop and then incorporated bebop in Billy Taylor's case. So trying to pass along what I can to you. And Chick Corea, one of the giants, started out in the 60s, the late 60s, got famous with Miles Davis, started Return to Forever. In the fusion era, began fusion, along with Weather Report and Mahavishnu Orchestra and some other great, mainly instrumental groups, right? Combined rock, Latin with jazz. At the same time, that progressive rock was flourishing in England, which featured long instrumental sections as well. So there are these parallels, cultural parallels. Think about it, progressive rock, jazz fusion, not really mentioned together in the same sentence very much. But one was happening, as they say, on this side of the pond, the Atlantic Ocean. This was happening on the other side of the pond. And they were, it was the same creative impetus. How do we make long-form instrumental pieces that aren't either straight-ahead rock and roll or folk music or straight-ahead jazz in the case of fusion and Latin jazz at that time in which Chick was at. So Litha, early Chick Corea, really early. And the astonishing thing is that, as we'll find, many or maybe all of the elements of his, quote, mature style of composing at least are present here, at least in seed. The seeds of his mature style is here right from the beginning. How does one get a new conception of music that early on, you know, when they're late teens, early 20s? It's astonishing. This is like Beethoven, right? Totally different than Mozart and Haydn, right from the beginning, while building on what he learned from them. And in the case of Chick, you know, you can't mention Chick Corea historically without thinking of Herbie Hancock and Keith Jarrett at the same time, along with McCoy Tyner and some others. But what do Keith Jarrett, Chick Corea, and Herbie Hancock have in common? Well, a couple things. One is they all started out playing with Miles Davis, or not started out in Keith's case, but they all became really mega famous around the time they were playing with Miles Davis. At the time when he was transitioning to straight eighth notes, or in the straight eighth note era. Herbie caught the end of that. And the other thing they all have in common is that they all became arguably most famous and resonating with the general public by playing music with straight eighth notes. In Chick's case, with Return to Forever, tunes like Spain, you know, Latin jazz kind of things, jazz rock with the second version with Al Di Meola on guitar, Stanley Clarke on bass, I guess the whole thing. And Keith Jarrett with the Cone Concert, these gospel kind of vamps, you know. straight eighth notes. Herbie Hancock with his funk, had huge hits in the 80s even. Rocket, hit the pop charts. Hip hop, right? But they all kept going back to jazz too. So there's this play between jazz and exploring more, I don't even want to say commercial. I just want to say things that have a wider scope, because I don't think it was necessarily a huge sellout like some people say. Certainly not in Jarrett's case, or I think the other two. So Litha, a little intimidating the first time you see a tune like this. It starts out in 6/8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That can be thought of as 6 like that. It can be thought of in 2 with almost like 2 jazz waltzes. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, almost like that. And even though this doesn't really have a real jazz waltz feel, it's really sort of like 2 sets of straight 3s. The interplay and the elasticity of the phrasing, I think, is very related to jazz waltzes, at least how I think about it sometimes, even though it's not really jazz waltz. And then on the second page, it just goes to straight ahead swing and modal swing. 8 measures of E minor, 8 measures of F minor, 8 measures of A minor, and then E flat 7 for 8 measures. So almost like So What or something, where just one chord for a while. So how do we approach a tune like this? Certainly can't just walk, hey, let's play Litha. Can't do that. Well, first to look at Chick's chord progressions. And Chick Corea a lot of times didn't think of functional harmony like 2-5-1s. He would use those in some tunes. But a lot of them are based on how the root movement is going. And if we just look at the roots, it's simple. It's D, goes down a step, half step in this case, to C sharp, and then another step, a whole step to B, another half step to B flat, step to A, G, F. First 7 chords, just down by steps. And I think he's doing it by feel. What do I want to do? What's the next one going to be? Okay, what's the next one? What's the next one? What's the next one? What's the next one? What's the next? And then at some point he says, okay, enough is enough. I'm going to go down a third to D, up a half step to E flat, down a third to C, and I don't know how he picked C minor 7 over F, and then B flat 7 just comes out of nowhere. B7 sharp 9. But then this transition to the swing, which is pretty jarring, having been in 6/8. Rhythmically, it's jarring, shock. It's a shock. It's abrupt. It's energy right there. He goes, it's a 5-1. B7 to E minor. Traditional 5-1 out of Mozart, Beethoven, and Duke Ellington, and Jerome Kern, everybody else. So he's doing something that's very untraditional, and then right at a key moment, it's just 5-1. And then he sort of jumps around modally. I don't know how he got these, just fun. Maybe he was just trying to do things that sounded different than what everybody else was writing. I don't know, this is about, it's sort of the harmonic equivalent of like a Prokofiev in classical music. Not writing the same chord progressions that Mozart or Beethoven did, but being a little random about it. Khachaturian, Stravinsky, a lot of the Russian composers did that, even Debussy, right? In France. Also related to how Wayne Shorter would maybe come up with some tunes, like Infant Eyes or Fee Fi Fo Fum, not necessarily 2-5-1s, but sort of by feel. Herbie in there too, but it's worth mentioning Wayne Shorter because Chick played with Wayne in Miles's band, so he became very familiar with Wayne's sort of musical thinking and his compositions as well. So I'm just going to dive right into it, get some feel, and the fun thing about this tune is that even though Chick is known for speed, I don't think it's necessarily Chick's technical ability, the fast playing that is the most, I'd say intimidating, or we'll say inspiring. Flip side, is it intimidating or inspiring about his playing? Because anybody can play fast if you practice enough, right? Fast. A lot of great players that play fast that we never hear about. But with Chick, I think it's besides his extreme musicality, he thinks fast. And you hear it on solos tunes like this, or Spain, or really anything. It's lightning fast thinking and being elastic with the beat. So I'm going to be inspired by that, and sometimes take it down. You don't have to always be high energy pumped. You could, keep that beat underneath. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, and then go there. So especially with Chick, I think there's an intensity about a lot of his playing, but there's also this playfulness, and there's a real lightness, and maybe even sometimes this dreamy. Can even bring that to some of the parts that are usually intense. So it's a whole textural and emotional and musical palette we can explore here. That's not always the most obvious thing. So I'm just going to dive right in with the melody, and there we go. I'll see you on the other end. I'll see you in E minor. You know, when I listened to Chick Corea for the first time, it was when I was about 15. It was the first album, maybe the Mad Hatter, which is still one of my favorites. And when we listen to something when we're relatively young, or at a certain point in immersion, like just listen to somebody over and over again, even if you don't follow their every album or move for even a decade at a time, you come back to them and something's still in you. And this kind of thing, like over the E minor at the end, sort of like these waves, these pulses. It just all comes back and it's in us. So immerse yourself in the music you love. Thanks for being here. I hope this inspires you to either check out Litha or another tune, or even just helps you in your playing in any way. I have some free lessons down below in the notes here. Help yourself and enjoy. And the main thing is let the music flow and let the process flow. Enjoy the journey. Let the music flow.